just like the main holiday, like our next one coming up is Memorial Weekend. And then we have 2 shutdowns of our facility. So one is usually in July and then one is in December. So that's when like we're not running anything. So usually, I mean, people go on vacation those weeks because they're right around like the major holidays. So that's really nice. And then for me personally, I have 2 weeks of paid time off. So I can use those however I want, whether it's like 4 hours or 8 hours, or just kind of track it in our software that we use.
So you can just like take a half day here and there?
Yeah, I could. Like, I obviously have to get it approved by my supervisor, but that's the nice thing, because then I'd only use 4 hours for that day if I just didn't want to stay all day. But also, if you're working later, you could take, you know, you could go home earlier on a Friday if you've been there for already like 50 hours, you know? So some people will do that, which is smart if they're there late.
What do you think the most important part of what you do is?
I would say, like, for our company, I would say it's getting orders in like in a timely manner. So basically the process is someone within the, like, one of my coworkers will say like, hey, we need this ink, and they'll kind of lay out like the description and how many pounds we need and when we need it by and who we're going to buy it from. So when they submit that request to me, then it's my job to go in and make a purchase order of like all the details, and then get that signed off by a director of that field. So if it's like ink, it would be more of like a pre-press manager. So when someone like brings me that, I usually make a purchase order pretty quickly, because there's ways of like tracking that. Like if my supervisor noticed like I was taking like a few days to put in an order, like that would be noticed. Mm-hmm. So I'll make a purchase order pretty quickly and then try and go find the director to sign it. So that's important because it shows like I'm actually doing stuff and like being proactive about it. And then like externally, I would say just having those good like vendor relationships, like I said previously, because you can kind of negotiate then, like if you work with them for a while or you like buy a lot of stuff from them, like negotiating better prices, which is important obviously for competition wise. But those are like probably the most important, just being good with time and making those relationships.
What happens if you get like the math wrong on a purchase order? You put a wrong number or something? So like for the quantity, are you asking? Mm-hmm. Yeah, because we have this like convert, like in our software, like it's this conversion. So like if we are buying it in pounds, but like we stock it in something else, like you have to make that conversion. So that can be a little tricky. I'm still like kind of nailing that down because it's a little hard to do if you haven't done a lot of them. But usually like if I notice I've made an error after I've already sent it out, like I'll reach out to the vendor and just ask if they could like correct it, or I'll send like a new purchase order. Because sometimes their pricing can change and like we may not know about it or may not have updated it in our systems. So if they like correct the pricing, then they usually like you to send like a revised purchase order to them. So would you say it's like your job weighs heavily on math skills?
Yeah, there's a part of it for sure. I know like when I start doing more project-based things, like you're ordering like huge rolls of paper that you need to be able to like know how many feet long it is going to be when it's all like rolled out, and knowing how many feet you need for like a project. So then that's where math will come in more. But like right now I'm more like just normal digit numbers, like we need 10 pounds of ink or something more basic like that, but yeah, it'll be coming soon.
So do you just deal with like materials used for production, or do you do other things?
Yeah, so a lot of like the project managers will order stuff based on their own project. But then I do more like inks, and then we have these things called reorder reports, which I look at the report every morning when I get in, and it'll show like what we're low on, like what paper packaging that we're low on, and like what we need to reorder. So I'll order based on that. Like my supervisor will approve the orders, and then place those. But what was I just saying? I forgot. I lost my train of thought. But then like I order more like office material. Like if people need like a stapler, which people who start like need a lot of materials. So I mean that can be more like daily orders from Staples or like a Uline or somewhere like that.
So do people have to come to you and tell you like what they need?
Yeah, we have like a form that people fill out like to request it, which is really helpful to me because otherwise I'll forget. Like if someone just says like, hey, can you order me this? Like I'll say like, oh yeah, and then it just like totally slips my mind. So those are there like to know more of the product, like the description and more details about the order than just like, hey, can you order me a binder? It's like, well, what kind of binder do you want? Like how many, what size? So that form like helps you know more in depth of like what you need to order.
Does that ever get annoying when people coming to you for stuff that they need?
No, I mean, it always gives me something to do. I know like a lot of the maintenance guys, because I've started doing the maintenance orders too, like now we have an ongoing joke because they needed me to like overnight, like, or they wanted me to overnight like 5 things in one day. And I didn't know if they were being serious or not, but they were literally just messing with me because they know I was like, it was like 3 o'clock and I was like, seriously, like it's almost time to go home. But no, I mean, it's funny now and people know that I'll like get the orders in pretty quick. So that's cool to like have that reputation on being on time.
Yeah. Okay. How has COVID-19 affected your job?
So for me, like going into the job, like during COVID, I feel like this is just like my normal. Like you walk in, wear your mask if you're not in your office by yourself. And then we do like temperature checks, going through like going through the front. So I mean, like those are good precautions we take for that. But for me, it's like I don't know anything different than what my daily life is like there. But I'm sure for other people, like it's a lot different because we don't meet in person anymore. Like we do more Zoom calls. And then like on the production floor, people are like have to be a lot more spaced out, like in their stations and like trying to make it so there's not many people in one office, so stuff like that. But I mean, it'll be almost weird when we're not, hopefully one day when we're not in this, like it'll be like totally different for me because this is all I know. So it's been good. Can't complain.
How are meetings held? Are they
So
over Zoom?
Yeah, so like Zoom or like you can call in. I know this morning I had a meeting and I didn't have a webcam, so I was like searching like crazy to find a webcam, and I ended up finding one, but it was just like a Zoom call, and it's nice to like see other people's faces.
Yeah.
Like you're actually on a meeting because you know that they're like engaging and paying attention than just like on the phone. Yeah. So I mean, I don't have like a ton of meetings, more just like weekly meetings with one person. So that's more acceptable where it's just like you and one other person. But if it's like a group, then it's going to be like on Zoom or a conference call. Yeah.
Well, that's all the questions I have for you.
No more.
No more. Thank you so much for telling me about what you do.
Yeah, you're welcome. Maybe you'll be a purchasing analyst one day.
Yeah, we'll see.
You never know.
Yeah.